All right, flip number 2 that I did had some lessons learned from the first one. Of course, I didn't take a whole lot of them to heart because I am hard-headed, and so sometimes it takes a little bit longer for me to learn those things. But let's dig into 1105 Brock Drive. So how did I find the deal? The market was absolutely insane, so I did not have time to go out and search for deals. I was doing, working with buyers and sellers because this was early 2021, and I think most people kind of know how insane things were during that time. But luckily, I actually had somebody who was looking for an investment property, and he decided to get into wholesaling. And so he was coming to me a lot for help on his comps and like estimates on renovations using my contractors and stuff. So he would give me first stab at pretty much all of the properties that he was planning on wholesaling. And one of them we found, I more or less gave him, hey, here's what I think the ARV is on this. Here's what I think it's going to take to repair. And here's what I'm willing to pay. He went out, I don't know what he negotiated with the seller, but we got it to a point where I was able to purchase that from the wholesaler and move forward. So we got this property for $65,000, and I was estimating about $40,000 in repairs. Most of that being because we were changing it from a 3-bed, 1.5 bath to a 3-2. This was a pier and beam property, so it's a lot easier to move like electrical and plumbing. And the half bath attached to the primary bedroom had like the HVAC and the water heater and a closet right next to it. So we were able to tear that closet out, move the HVAC and water heater into the garage, and then turn that section into a full bathroom. So let's get into how did I fund it. So if you checked out the last video, probably could have guessed, I really just took the funds from that last property and we put that into this one. So we actually only took $65,000 out from the company that we had previously, purchased this house for that, and the repairs were going to come out of my own pocket, just more or less as I was doing real estate sales. I was kind of funneling that money directly back into the property. So yeah, super easy in terms of the funding, but the process is always where it gets tough. So I decided, stupidly, to use the same contractor as I had used on the last flip. He convinced me that the only reason that he was having, the issues with timing and stuff like that, was that he's got so many jobs that he's running around to. But if I just gave him this property and he was going to do the whole flip, he would be there every single day and we would be good. So that was mistake number 1, is letting him convince me of that. Mistake number 2 was letting him convince me that I could potentially save money if I was willing to just pay him weekly, more like a salary rather than, as work gets finished, because he was just going to be there every single day, 9 to 5, put in 8 hours of work with him and his son, and like as long as I paid them for that, they were good. He kind of wanted to make it up to me for being kind of a pain on the last one, so I was like, oh, cool. That might even save me some money. It didn't. It did not. So, again, the market was crazy, and so I was focusing heavily on my sales side. This project was a smaller one, so I wasn't super, super concerned about how it was going. I was just, working with buyers and sellers constantly, and this guy would send me text updates of, the pictures of stuff that he had done on the property, and then ask for his payment. And I would send it, because I was like, oh, well, that's proof that he's done the work. This project is supposed to take about a month and a half. As we started getting towards that period, I was like, hey, where are we at on this project? Like, it should be about done by now, right? It was not. And then, the excuses started coming up. And it was crazy stuff. Things that I don't want to be the jerk and be like, I think you're BSing me. It's like him and his wife getting a divorce. His daughter having to go to an insane asylum. His son having a heart attack. Like, major, major events. And so I was like, hey man, I feel for you. Like, take your time. The project can wait. It's not super important that we get it done immediately. So I kind of pushed that off. I was like, I can't pay you during this time. Obviously, you're not out there working, but like, we can wait, figure stuff out. So yeah, then they would come in and you'd be like, hey, you know, let me do such and such small task. I'll get this finished if you'll pay me this amount for that. And then, you know, he'd send me pictures, show me that the work was done. I'd pay him so they could go like do a family weekend or whatever. But turns out most of that work he said he was doing, he was not actually doing. He was doing more or less the bare minimum that he could do to show me a picture that looked like things were done. You know, we had cabinets that were not actually installed. They were just sitting around there. We had plumbing, I found out later on once I pulled other contractors in, that was not done under the property at all. Like I said, it was a pier and beam, so you can just open up the flooring and see where your plumbing is, and there was nothing under the floors. And, you know, things like insulation, a bunch of things not done. And yeah, he just let me know. He's like, sorry, dude, I can't do it. And he peaced out. And I had paid him probably about $30,000 of this $40,000 budget that I was anticipating. Had to get these other contractors in. They're the ones that told me this stuff. Yeah, he had taken the HVAC and the water heater too. I think we ended up getting those back, if I remember correctly. But still, things just went crazy. It ended up taking me about another $30,000 on top of that, so $60,000 total in renovations to finally get the property fixed up with these new contractors that I honestly should have just hired from the beginning. So process didn't go super smooth, but I was very fortunate in that we had purchased early 2021, and obviously the market continued trending upwards very quickly. So our like ARV around that time was about 180 to 190. So even though I ended up with like 125, 130 in, it's still a profitable thing. But we ended up not even cashing out on that one and put a renter in. So that's where we're at on the end of that project. Let's jump into the lessons learned. All right, as they say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I should not have listened to this contractor again. I have a bad habit of being gullible and believing people, especially when they seem sincere on things, and trying to just kind of assume that people aren't going to lie to me, which obviously, a bad assumption to make sometimes. So yeah, my top 3 takeaways from this investment are going to be, number 1, don't pay out any money until you or somebody you trust has been able to physically inspect the property. If you don't see it with your eyes and you checked every part of that system, or somebody that you actually trust hasn't seen it, don't just believe the contractor. They're the ones that want the money from you, obviously. Number 2, if you've got electrical systems or plumbing systems that are being worked on, make sure that you inspect all of those. If you have something like a pier and beam property where you can see within the foundation, make sure that you check under there and see that just because the plumbing is working at the shower head, the drainage part is installed too. If you're able to be in there and check while they have walls opened up and they're doing any of these lines, like that is a great time to check to make sure that things are being done properly. Number 3, and this is super important, and I still have a difficult time with this because again, I do just want to help people constantly. But remember, this is a job. They are employees, they are not your friends, they are not your family. And so if there's somebody that just can't do the job, they need to be fired. I understand completely when people have life events. I want to be understanding of that when it happens and, give them a little bit of a break, but don't let that be the reason that you are paying them extra or, delaying your project significantly, or even just giving them little side jobs that they can do, or loaning money to a contractor. Like, don't do any of these things unless it genuinely is somebody that you've known for a very long time and would consider them a personal friend or family. More or less, if you're not inviting them to your birthday party, it's probably not somebody that you should be just loaning money to. And that loan could be in the form of, just paying them way ahead of time before they're even working on a job, or, whatever else on that. Something that you're expecting to be paid back through their labor or something else. So please learn from me. Don't let a job that should have been fewer than 3 months from purchase to sale and would have been a cash cow for me, don't let that turn into a 6-month nightmare that, it's still maybe profitable, but I got very lucky with how the market was going. So you cannot count on that. Don't let that happen. Learn from these issues that I have. Don't be bullheaded like me and just take my mistakes as yours. Don't repeat them. I promise you, it's not worth it. With that being said, if you ever want to talk about an investment, or you're looking to buy or sell in the Fort Hood or Greater Austin areas, feel free to reach out. My information is going to be down below or up above. We'll have it somewhere around here, depending on whatever platform you're watching. But don't be shy. Feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to talk. Thanks. You have a good one.